My name is Gene Smith. I was born March 16, 1929. Well, I came back home at 17. I joined the service, and I grew up in the service. I became a staff sergeant, and I guess my word to fame, or whatever you want to say it, was I was in charge of a B-29, which was a spy plane in the Korean War. They had two of them. They shot one down, and it was big news in the paper that they charged them all in China. Had forced them down. Didn't shoot it down. Forced it down. My buddy Brock was the crew chief on the other plane, and he got killed, or they killed him in prison or something like that. Anyway, I took care of the other spy plane, and found out later that from that they did some other things, and I look back upon it, I was playing a role of a spy, doing other things. Anyway, that's a long time ago, and I even won the Good Conduct Medal twice. 3 or 4 other medals. I didn't forgot all what they were, but I know I had for every 6 months you got what is called a hash mark, and 7 hash marks is the most you could get, and I got them, and won 5 battle stars. I don't know what else. Anyway, that's the most they ever gave out in the whole Korean War, was 5 battle stars, and I won them. You know, not that I was a big time hero, but I paid my dues. And my country don't owe me nothing, because really I used the service to grow up in. I did manage to grow up. A lot of water under the bridge. When I got back here, I got discharged, and I became a member of Chapter 4 in Tucson. I'm still a member of it now, of Disabled American Veterans. Married a few times. Had a few heartaches. All those things. Made a lot of money and lost a lot of money. Anyway, I got into dope, did all kinds of things. I even owned a hippie bar. One day I was out, a storm came up, and it hadn't rained yet, and I happened to be driving by the grave site where my son was buried, and he got shot and bled to death on my own barroom floor. Anyway, I was out at his grave, and I was miserable. Oh, was I miserable. And I was standing there, and I just looked up, and it just started drizzling, raining. And I says, Lord, why don't you just kill me and get it over with? And buddy, I want you to know, in the next so many minutes went by, 10 or 15 minutes, a most vicious thunder and lightning happened, and just lightning all around me, and one almost got me. And it knocked me down to the ground. And it scared me. And I was really scared. And it brought me to my senses. And I remember saying, Lord, forgive me, I didn't mean that. I want to live. And the storm went away. And even the sun came out. And I was sitting there on my son's grave. And I was looking to the east, and there was a rainbow in the sky, and I looked at it and followed it down, and it was right there in front of me. The end of it was right there in front of me, maybe 20 to 40 feet in front of me, because I could see the trees on the other side of the rainbow, and I knew that this was a real rainbow, and it was that close. But I got on my hands and knees and looked at the edge of the grass to see if it actually come all the way down to touch the earth, and it didn't. It stopped about a foot. It was very dark colors, and you know, just a half hour before that, the wind was blowing and all that stuff, and the storm and everything, and here it was so calm, and there's that rainbow. And you know, I got calm inside myself, and I sat there, and I remember, you know, the rainbow at Noah's Ark and that story and all that. And I just sat there. After all, I was sitting in a graveyard, and you can talk out loud, I guess, get away with it. And I says, "Is that you, God? Are you real? Is it real? Are you real?" And just seems like in my heart, if I didn't hear no voice, but it was so strong in my heart, and like the thoughts, look at you, how miserable you are. You're sitting here on your son's grave, and you think you're happy with all the things you've got, living in this big home up on a hill with a swimming pool and naked girls running all around, and you got all this money, and got everybody all patting you on the back that you're a big daddy, and you're involved in all these dope deals, and you got friends everywhere, and you go to all the big rock concerts, and like not a dull moment in your life, but you're really miserable, and you're lonely, and you need me as your friend. And I'm jealous. You come here and you see, you come to your brother's grave, and I know you love him. In fact, you love him more than most fathers love their sons. You really love him. You wearing his clothes, and I looked, and yeah, I had my son's clothes on, because you got all his stuff on that he owned, his pottery and his paintings and stuff. You got it on the walls, and you all that, and that's true. I had. And you even going out with his girlfriends, and that's right, I was. I was trying to live his life, I guess. Anyway, seeming like that the Lord was dealing with me, and like giving me last call, and he seemed like he put it in my heart, says, if you, I'm jealous. If you could love me like you love your son, I mean, if you could put me first in all that you do, I'd make your life worthwhile. I'd open the windows of heaven for you. And so I left that gravesite with that experience, and when I drove 2 or 3 blocks and started out toward the far end of the graveyard, I looked back, and that rainbow was still sitting there in the same place. That really bugged me. Anyway, I went back to the bar, and I couldn't stand it. Some girl was standing by the jukebox and all that stuff, doing her thing and all this, and I just didn't. I just left. I went up to my house up on the top of the hill, and I found a Bible, an old Gideon Bible among the books and stuff on the shelf, and I started reading that, and it was just like reading a newspaper. I could just understand it so easy. Oh, a couple of weeks went by. I just wanted to read the Bible and to stay separated from everybody, and then one day I went down to the bar, and I was told all the guys was ripping me off and all that, but it didn't bother me. Nothing bothered me like that. I didn't care. I walked into the bar. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that, and drinking or something like that, and I was standing there, and I looked over side the wall there, and there's where my son had been shot and bled to death, and the blood had splattered on that wall, and all this time, 9 months had gone by, and no one had ever washed that blood off of that wall. And I looked down, and I had this Navy raincoat that my son was wearing when he was killed, and there was blood on the sleeve, my son's blood, and I just had put it on, you know, and not realizing that, and I looked at that, and I just couldn't handle it any longer, and I went around behind the next wall where in the storage room where I kept all the beer and stuff, and put my arms up against the wall, and I said, if you're real, God, I'll live for you. I'll die for you. I'll go anywhere. I'll do anything. Anything. And I walked out of that bar. And I had 10 acres out in the desert in the sticks, and I went out there. And I had a big-time girlfriend that had a Mark IV car, bulletproof glass, a couple of bodyguards and all that she had. She was in the mafia. And right before I left, I told her I was going to go out there and find God. I says, there's a real God. He's a spirit, and he wants to live in people. And I think he wants to live in me and control me. And she cuts me out. And says I was insane. And said, if you go out there in the desert and start talking to the cactus, you know too much. You know too much about my operation. And I did. I knew how dope got into San Quentin and the operation of the dope deals and stuff in California and so on. Other things. Anyway, I looked at her and I says, honey, if there is a God, if there's a real God, you're not going to be able to touch me. Because she had told me, says, you go out there and start talking to cactus and everything, I'll send 2 guys out there to carve your face in with a can opener. That's the way she expressed herself. And I told her, I says, if there's a real God, you'll not be able to touch me. And if there's not a God, well, I don't want to live in a world that don't have a God in it. So go ahead and get it over with, because I'm fed up. I'm going to find God, a real God. And if I can't find him, then I don't want to live in a world that don't have God. I had reached that point where I was willing to repent. Totally give up, give out, give in, and serve the Lord. And from that time on, I've done that.